Okay, so when I was finishing off the ZE50, I had a bit of an issue. It was quite a major issue actually, and I didn't really have time to go into the details at that point because I needed to get that car finished. And then in getting it finished, I kind of didn't really have anything to show, and it wasn't really very visible. But what did I do wrong, and what did that cause? And it's quite interesting. Bit of motor theory. And yeah, something that caught me out, but I've learned something which is good. So the Zoe motor is interesting. Let's start around the other end. So if we go down here, so if we look into the motor, so this is the stator around the edge, so it's got a wound stator, and then if we can look in, you can see the rotor there, and that's wound as well. So the Zoe motor, this is a 5AQ motor, doesn't contain any magnets. Okay, this one's damaged since it's rusty, don't worry about it. So it's just coils against coils. Okay, so what it does is it magnetizes the rotor, and then it pulses the stator, and that pushes the rotor round. Okay, so on the rotor you've just got one well, it's going blurry. You've got one long coil that goes around the whole thing, and then it's just got two wires at the end. Okay, and those wires come out here. This is what the brushes are for. So on the end of the rotor, obviously that's turning round. I've just put these on just to kind of show you what's going on. So you've got your two points there. So they're connected to all of the coils around the rotor. It's got like kind of 4 blocks of coils, but it's one long wire around the rotor. Okay, and then you've got your red and black, and that actually goes through the hole there and pops out here. So they come out there like that. Okay, and they connect onto the motor controller. So I always assumed that the orientation of these two wires wasn't important because this is just one coil that goes around the rotor, and it's just two ends of the same thing. So what difference is it going to make? But whenever I'm working on a customer's vehicle, even if you're not even if you think something doesn't matter, you do it the correct way anyway. But because this was going to be our vehicle, I didn't follow that principle. Hence, I've never done this before, and I've worked on a lot of Zoes. So normally the black is on the outside, but when I had them together, I had the red on the outside, but I thought it was two ends of the same thing. There's a little bit of a clue here, because there's obviously a reason these are red and black. There is also another clue, which hopefully I can show you this. So this is just a stack I'm working on at the moment. If we go under where these wires are actually connected, hoping you can see in here, so you can see the red and black, and I'm hoping you can see just in here, that's a little bit blurry, isn't it? If I get that to focus, yeah, so you can see there's a negative there next to the black one. There's also a positive somewhere on the red one, but I think it's in the shadow there. But yeah, so you can see that one's marked negative, that black one. Okay, so we got a red and a black, and where they go is marked negative and positive. Oh, it's in the shadow. There's the, where are we? It's just in, there we are, see the plus. So I had these the other way around on the ZE50 when I put it together. Okay, so those wires magnetize the rotor. Okay, so and we know that the rotor gets magnetized, and then these are the stator wires. Okay, and then the motor controller pulses these wires, and it pushes the rotor round. Okay, so what happened with the ZE50 basically is when I put it back down on the ground and went to back it out the workshop, it actually went forwards. It kind of like, not smoothly forward, but I was obviously backing out gently, but it just jumped forward a little bit, and I thought that's a bit weird. And now, bearing in mind, I put this car back together and I got the motor to spin, and you know, obviously it's not difficult to tell exactly how it's spinning, but it's kind of spinning, and it's the first ZE50 I'd ever done. So yeah, I thought that was a bit weird, and bearing in mind I've been doing a lot of work on the ZE50, so yeah, you're never quite sure if you're going to have an issue. So And then I thought, that's a bit weird. Did that go the wrong way? So I kind of confirmed that the car was literally going the opposite way to the way you'd want to go, when it was really jerky. And after a bit of jerking around, it would go motor failure and stop working, basically. And motor failure is what it came in with. So I was pretty concerned about this point because we're basically at the end of a 20-hour project, and the car's not working properly. And this is the first one I've ever done. I'm kind of thinking, okay, this has just been a failure. So I sort of went away and had a little think about this, and I sort of said quite a few naughty words. And then when I sat down, I thought, hang on a minute, I think I know what's wrong with it. So if you imagine, let's imagine this was kind of a more standard motor, which has got magnets, and then it's got coils, and the coils are powered so that they push or pull on the magnets, because magnets obviously have a north and a south. Everybody knows that. If you turn a magnet round, instead of pushing, it's pulling. Okay, so it makes perfect sense that these wires, if they're the wrong way round, and this rotor is effectively magnetized the wrong way round, when the car fires these to push the rotor, it's not going to push it, it's going to pull it. So the car's literally going to go the wrong way. I mean, the car then knows that something's gone wrong because it's got a rotor position sensor, and it knows that something major has gone wrong, and then it shuts down, motor failure. So yeah, so on the ZE50, basically I could get to that cover panel where we've just been. It's right up against the subframe. You can just about get to it, and I basically crossed these wires over, and it works absolutely fine now. So yeah, I felt like a bit of a plum, and I didn't really have anything to show because it's all sort of back together. But yeah, I just thought I'd take that opportunity because I've got one in the right sort of state, and I thought that was quite interesting, really. And although it's a complete cock up, and I'm slightly embarrassed, but I've learnt a lot about it, and I always think, you know, that's kind of the whole idea. That's why I do this, because it's interesting and I want to learn. And yeah, and it makes perfect sense. And now we know these have got to be the right way around. But yeah, that makes sense. If you've turned your magnet round, it's like this, you know, like this motor's got a magnet and a coil, and you've turned the magnet round, and the motor controller expects it to be a certain configuration, so it's firing it the only way it knows how, and it's turning the opposite way. It's not getting the response it expects, and it can see what's happening via the rotor position sensor. So at that point, it kind of shuts down. So yeah, that was a real sort of heart in mouth moment there. But yeah, we're all learning, and that's why, to be honest, whenever I do a major job on a different variant that I've not done before, much prefer to own the vehicle. It's mine. I can take my time, investigate things. Well, I never know if it's going to work, so how would you estimate that if you've never done it before and the parts are different? So I wouldn't want to get into a situation where I've done a load of work on a customer's vehicle, sort of they're expecting it to be done for a price and it can't be, you know. I'm not really happy to do that. But yeah, so a little bit of confession time. Hope that's interesting. Yeah, if you've done sort of things with motors or you found that interesting, yeah, you got any thoughts, just drop them in the comments. But there you go. So I slightly messed that one up, but yeah, I did resolve it. So there you go, we're all learning. All right, catch you later.